if you've been watching this channel for some time, you'll know that I've been highly anticipating the Blackpool Branches route coming out in TSW4. You know I've been really excited. And you probably think, why does he keep going on about it? What's it all about? Well, this video is going to be a little bit different because what I wanted to do is kind of share my story about this route and about what this route actually means to me, because I've got a couple of personal connections to this route, and I thought it'd be worthwhile going back in time, talking about why this route is so special to me, and actually showing you some photographs of why this route, and not just the route, but also the Class 142 Pacer, why the route and the Pacer are actually quite nostalgic for me, and why, just looking through the screenshots and everything we've had up to this point, and the footage that you can see in the background, which I recorded earlier, why this is taking me back so much. And this video is, as I said, it's a little bit different, and I hope you enjoy it. But let's just jump in, let's get into it. And I think the first thing to say is, as you know, I was born in Preston, so the fact that Preston is now in the game is something I've wanted for so long, and you guys are sick of hearing about it. It's the station that I know the most, and I grew up as a child taking trains from Preston with the family in the holidays, so very, very, very familiar to me. As is Blackpool. It's a destination that we went to, quite a lot. And so, the route, as a child, the route was already quite familiar to me. But when I left school, I went straight into a job for British Rail as a trainee. And as a trainee, I suppose it was today's equivalent would be an apprenticeship. So it was a training scheme where they would give you work experience at different parts of railway operations, and they would also give you a day release to go to college. And at college I was doing business and finance, so I was doing a kind of mix, really, because I always wanted to end up doing something like a clerk's job or a managerial type job, rather than being a driver or a guard or working platforms or something in that part of railway operations. So I joined the training scheme, and one of the first assignments I was given, and this was between the beginning of February and the end of March in 1990, was to work with the guards. And working with the guards involved jumping on the train, helping them sell tickets, opening and closing the doors, generally looking after the train just like a guard would, and being in charge of the management of that train. And I knew somewhere I had photographs from this, because as part of being on the training scheme, for each assignment that you did, you had to do a little write-up of your experience and what you learned, and things you didn't know before you started, etc. And I knew I had this somewhere, and I went and I dug it out. And this is part of the nostalgia. This route has taken me right back to that time. And I wanted to show you a few photographs from that period in 1990, so you can see, well, what my experience was, and why this route really does mean so much to me. And one of the first photographs that I actually found when I came across this written piece that I had up in the loft, hidden away for years and years, was a photograph of me that you can see now in my looking very resplendent in my uniform there, the old British Rail uniform. This was before privatisation, and I am actually stood there in 1990 on Preston Station. This is platform 4 at Preston Station, and as an added bonus, if you look carefully in the back, you can actually see the blue Pacer in the platform there, over on platform 5 at Preston Station. So I had no idea, even though I knew I'd worked on the Pacers, I had no idea that I had some of these photographs, and they were all, to do with the Pacers. So it was an added bonus. So what I did was, Being as I got my hands on the game, I took this photograph, and in the game, in the new route, I tried to match up as best I could that exact position in the game. Now the photograph I've got is, obviously it's a very old photograph. It's not as wide angle as it appears in TSW4, but just for your sort of amusement and comparison, here is what it looks like in TSW4 as best I can get it. And as you can see, although this game, the actual Blackpool Branches is set in 1986, the photo of me was taken in 1990. It's not long after, but you can see there what kind of a decent job, a pretty spot on job actually Just Trains have done with this. And the other thing is, I'd forgotten just how light and airy Preston Station was back then. There's a lot of glass there, and it looks great. And I can't, this photograph, I love this photograph with the pacer in the background. So already, you can see it's taking me back. It's provoking so many, memories from that time. And so on to working on the trains themselves, which was a lot of fun. A lot of fun for me. I was new into work. I love trains. I was able to ride on trains and get to areas of trains that are not really available to anybody else. So in the case of a pacer, for example, there is no guards van or guards area, so you would generally sit in the driver's cab at the opposite end. And I got a couple of photographs of that as well, and this one is the first one, and you can see in this first one what I'm doing in a very, very staged photograph. I am actually using the public address system in the pacer, in the back of the pacer, and have a look around the cab in the pacer from what you can see there, and compare that to what we've got in TSW4 in this new route, and you'll agree that it is absolutely spot on the way that they've done it. There is one little item that I spotted in this old photograph. You can see to the right of the picture, there is a little ashtray there on the side, a little British Rail ashtray. Now remember that this was 1990. I'm trying to remember when the no smoking rules came in the UK in public, but at this period of time, smoking was very much a thing, and therefore I expect that the drivers, would also smoke in the cab whilst they were driving, and so would the guards, etc. It's a long way back. I can't really remember that far back, but one little addition there is that ashtray. I didn't see that in the DLC, but I mean that's a minor thing. That's not going to stop the train moving, is it? But I'm pretty pleased at this picture too, because it's a very very clear view of what the cab looked like on the driver's side. And one of my other responsibilities from this time period is setting the destination board, which again is something we get to do quite a lot in TSW, isn't it? But on the pacer, you can see there I'm looking in just to make sure that what I have set the destination to be actually is showing, because as I remember, you were able to look in and see what was shown on the outside without going on the outside of the train and having a look. As of course in TSW we just use the camera to go around and check what is being shown on the outside of the train. But in real life, that's quite handy, because then when it's freezing cold on a platform, you don't have to jump out and go and have a look. You can do it that way. But it wasn't always work. There were some places that we went to on the trains, particularly Ormskirk, actually, from this DLC. So when you ride into Ormskirk and you come across the buffers where the passengers would change and catch the Merseyrail service onward to Liverpool, there would be a period of waiting around there once you got in, especially if the Merseyrail service hadn't come in yet, because you had to wait for that so that people coming from Liverpool could then jump along the platform and get onto your service back to Preston and onto Blackpool and wherever else they wanted to go. So there was a lot of waiting around, and in this particular picture that I found, this was one of the guards that I worked with. His name was Sheldon. I don't remember his surname. Again, you know, the old brain cells have closed down a little bit since then. This is Sheldon, and he's just sat there whilst we wait to turn around and go back. And it could be at Ormskirk, it could very well be at Ormskirk. He's just sat there on there eating his crisps, and you know, it looked as if he didn't expect me to take that photograph, but I have still got that in the little project, so that kind of made me smile. If anybody's familiar with the train crews that were operating from Preston and Blackpool back in the very early 90s and knows of Sheldon, make sure you let me know, because there might be one of you out there that knows his whereabouts. But once back at work, there was always lots of opportunities to work the doors, and that was one of the first jobs that I got to do, because obviously at each station you got to repeat this. And again, on a little bit of a staged photograph, you can see me operating the doors. I've got my hand up there on the guards panel. Now the guards panel we can actually use in this new Blackpool Branches DLC, which is nice. And you know, by a complete fluke, not only did I have that picture, but I actually did write a piece underneath there about what I was doing, and you can see that here. So, you know, my writing has not improved over the years, I can tell you that. So take some time to read that if you can. But what I did was I wrote myself an explanation of what was in the guards panel and how to open the doors. There was another page about how to close the doors and the sequence of buttons to be pressed. And it seems really, I'd forgotten all about this and what was in it, and it seems strange to me that I've got all this stuff now, and here we are with trains, the same as what I worked on in a game, and I can do this all over again. It's very, very bizarre to me. But one of the most uncanny pieces of this little project that I did that I wanted to show you was this, where I was talking about the types of trains that I worked on during this little placement, and I'm talking about the Pacer in this one. I've called this a provincial, but just I'm looking at the DLC now, and I think the provincial is the blue one, if I've got that correct. This one's got a different name, hasn't it? This livery, so I may have got that slightly wrong. But have a look down what it says at the bottom about where I worked this train. I actually worked this train from Preston to Colne, but also Blackpool North, Blackpool South and Ormskirk. So that is really, really bizarre that is in there. And I mean, obviously I know that I did those routes. I don't remember recording the fact that I did that. And you know, that's another reason that I know this DLC in real life quite well, because I did do that work up and down on the trains and spent, you know, a couple of months doing it, and I did do the same routes over and over again, as a real train crew would do. So it was, you know, it was really nice to see this little project that I did at that time, and also to pick out little bits and pieces like that were, you know, that are really relevant to this DLC. And there's just one more area of the game I want to show you, because after I was on the training scheme, I was on the training scheme for about 6 months, and then I was lucky enough to actually get a regular job. So I came off the training scheme and I was given a regular job with British Rail, and that was with the civil engineers department. They were based at Preston as well. And if you look at this screenshot, this is Ladywell House. And this was my workplace for another couple of years after the training scheme. And I look at this now. I mean, this is now turned into a hotel in real life. The building, as it looks in this screenshot, which is taken directly from the DLC, is completely unrecognisable now. And where you see the Pacer that I've put in free roam, there is now a road coming from Preston, a bypass road from Preston that is going past the building and towards Penwitham, and that was being built whilst I was still working in Ladywell House. So again in the early 90s. But again, from a nostalgia perspective, this is where I first started working. You know, there's been a lot of years since then, and to see this being conjured up in a game of all places and seeing it again, you know, things that have gone, you know, before can be recreated from photographs and from videos from the time. And I've been in this DLC a little bit over the weekend in the early access, and I've had a very good walk around. It's just like being back there. It really is like being back there, and it's been so much fun. And you know, I just want to thank Just Trains and Dovetail for particularly bringing this route out. I hope everybody at some stage in TSW gets a route that they can relate to like this, because the nearest to this for me previously was Northern Transpennine, and I could connect with that one as well, but not in the same way as I can with this one. And this one is really special to me. And the area around Preston, the Pacer itself, the route up to Ormskirk, Blackpool North, Blackpool South, all really familiar. And this could actually be the first one that I'm able to drive hoodless, so that'll be a thing worth watching. There is just one more thing that connects me to this DLC, and many of you that have followed the channel for a while will know that I lost my dad in January of this year. My dad was a really big train fan. He always was. He used to spot trains at Preston Station, and this DLC, by a strange coincidence, is really releasing on the 14th of November, and that would have been Dad's birthday. So I would have loved to have shown him this. He would have been 5 times more excited about this than I would, and that's saying something. I remember sitting with him and showing him Northern Transpennine, and he was blown away by that one. So I think with this one, you know, he would have been over the moon with this, and would have recognised, like me, recognised everywhere that is in this DLC, and he would have said, take me to such a place and take me to such a place, and I would have been able to do that. So I know it's a strange coincidence, but I think the fact that this is a personal connection to me, it's a personal connection to him, and it comes out on what would have been his birthday, I think this route is going to do really well, and I hope you guys really enjoy it. That's it for now. I hope you've enjoyed this little journey back into the past. Take it easy. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.